What's up guys, Lightning here again with another Guild Wars 2 video for you. Today we're going to be looking at the build that I like to use when running a Guardian in PvP, or Conquest as some as you call it. So I'd like to just jump straight in and first of all look at the weapons that we use in this build. First off, we use a mace and shield, and with that, this is where most of your tanking will come from, well, the set that you'll be using most of the time while tanking on a node. Not for any particular reason other than the shield skills, as you have Shield of Judgment, which grants protection for 3 seconds and creates a shielding and a wave in front of you that damages foes and gives protection to yourself and up to 5 allies. You will be doing a lot of support for your team in this. You are very strong 1v1, you can survive for a very long time, but just be prepared that with this build you will do little to no damage at all. Your job's not to deal any damage or get kills. Your job with this build is to just lock down a node and say, you know, just deny them as much as possible. The other shield skill, you've got a Shield of Absorption, which knocks back targets when they're close by, gives you a small amount of healing when you detonate the dome, and it just shields basically, so no projectiles can get in. It only absorbs them though, it doesn't reflect them, so you're not going to be doing any damage through that, but it's another way of just keeping yourself alive that little bit longer, as you know, you get power ranges and things like that with their longbows that are just ridiculously. You then get protection through Protector Strike, so again there's another 3 seconds of protection. You also get regen through your Symbol of Faith, so it's a small heal, it's not amazing, like I said, you're not going to be doing a huge amount of damage though, but all of these things are just minor little tweaks that all benefit towards you staying up even longer. The next weapon set we use is Staff. This is more for utility and getting around the map more than anything else. So Wave of Wrath is just a powerful shock wave. It just sort of sends a light blast out in front of you and hits a small number of targets for very small to almost unnoticeable damage. Orb of Light is an orb that you send out, and when you detonate you get a small heal from it, so again it's not a major heal, but it's enough to keep you going that little bit longer. We then have Symbol of Swiftness. I usually throw this down right at the start of a game because that 4 seconds of swiftness just gets everyone out onto the map quicker, out to those nodes a little bit quicker, to then make it so we're defending the nodes rather than trying to attack them. Empower means you channel might yourself and allies around you and heal nearby allies when it ends. So granting out might for 10 seconds, which means more damage, and you're getting to heal everyone around you, which means everyone stays up longer and you're doing the good job of supporting the node basically and keeping it locked down. And Line of Warding is great because even though it's a 40-second cooldown, that creates a wall that your foes just can't cross, which is great for denying entrances to nodes. I have a lot of fun throwing it down when someone's coming towards me, placing it just before them so they don't have time to realise what I'm doing, and just seeing them get bounced back by it. It's an excellent skill to use. So anyway, we'll look at the actual parts of the build that I use and the bits that everybody's more interested in really. Starting off with the actual utility skills. With heals, I use Shelter, block attacks while healing. That's a 2-second invulnerability, and I use this skill a lot when I've got others on cooldown that I need to use, but I need to stay out that a little bit longer. Generally, even if I don't necessarily need to heal, because you won't need to very often with this build, I would still use it for that 2 seconds of invulnerability. And 5.3k heal is more than a third of our health, so if you do need to use that heal, you're getting a nice big chunk back, and you're going to be invulnerable for those 2 seconds while channeling it, so no one's going to stop you using it. So this build is a shout focused build, so everything we're going to do is going to be used to benefit shouts as much as possible, whether it's reducing the cooldowns to as short as possible, or trying to increase how many boons we get, or strict conditions when we use them. So everything from here on out is a shout. And we start with Retreat, which grants Aegis and Swiftness up to 5 allies. That's 20 seconds of Aegis, which blocks the next incoming attack, which is great when you've got things like thieves roaming around in stealth and they're about to try and get a backstab off. It also grants 20 seconds of Swiftness, which again is great for getting players around the map, changing nodes, moving around as quickly as possible. Generally tends to give you the edge when it comes to fighting nodes, because it is actually easier to defend a node than it is to try and attack the node. I know some people don't see much of a difference, but once you've got a group and your team are together, working together, and you're already in location, and the enemy team 9 times out of 10 are trickling in, even when you're queuing with pugs, you generally tend to attack the first red name that appears, and so protecting a node is a lot easier than trying to attack. This also converts one boon into a condition, and it doesn't say it in the tooltip, but that does do it for up to 5 allies as well. So if your entire team's been affected by a necromancer, for example, with one of his wells, any fear, poison, any condition, your team gets a free boon for that. Next shout is Hold the Line, so you grant 4 seconds of protection and 6 seconds of regen. Obviously less damage, health regen, keeping your team alive a little bit longer, and again, because it's a shout, we convert one condition into a boon, which is another Condi cleanse. Stand Your Ground, you grant retaliation for 6¼ seconds, which means you reflect incoming damage back to its source, so those rangers that decide to hit rapid fire, for example, are about to have a really bad day when that skill gets pushed. You also gain 5 seconds of stability, which is great if you've got team members that need to get stomps or they're trying to get reses off. If you're fighting a node with the team and you hit Stand Your Ground during, a bleak moment where you need to get one of your teammates rezzed or you need to get a few stomps off and it's not looking too great for you, hitting that just all of a sudden reinvigorates the entire party and they're ready to go again. It's also a stun breaker, and again, because it's a shout, you can convert another condition into a boon, which keeps everyone going even more. And for my elite skill, I take Feel My Wrath. You grant Fury and Quickness to nearby allies, so that's 10 seconds of Fury, which is an increased crit chance, and skills and actions are 50% faster, so that's stomps are faster, reses are faster, attack animations are faster, which means that your burst skills for your allies, for example, like 100 Blades for a warrior, which is quite a slow telegraphed skill, all of a sudden becomes really fast and all of that damage is pumped out really quickly. And that also, again, because it's a shout, converts another condition into a boon. So you can see already there is a lot of Condi cleanse in this build, and because they're shouts, each of these skills is around 30 seconds, so 32 to 24 seconds on cooldown, which seems like quite a long time, but using these shouts correctly and deciding which buffs that you should be using, you shouldn't ever be spamming all of these shouts at the same time. They should be staggered and you should be using each individual shout depending on what you need and when. You also have access, being a guardian, to Virtue of Justice. This also grants 5 seconds of might and 3¼ seconds of retaliation. And when activated also causes burning to the you and your allies inflict burning on the next attack. You have Virtue of Resolve, which heals yourself and nearby allies. You also gain Redurance regen, you also gain a health regen on top of the initial heal, and you also gain retaliation, and you remove 3 conditions. So another Condi cleanse to go with this build that's already making you very, very tanky. And then Virtue of Courage, which, leaving passive a lot of the time, is generally what I would do, just because granting Aegis every few seconds is really helpful. But when you're in a tight spot and you need to get it out, popping this skill grants you Aegis to block the next incoming attack. You get 5 seconds of protection for reduced damage. You get 4 seconds of stability, so you're not being knocked down anytime soon. And you get 3¼ seconds of retaliation, so again, ranged attacks get thrown in at you, you're just going to reflect them straight back. and it's also a stun break, so if you get locked down you can use that and you can start trying to get out. So now that's the skills looked at, we'll take a quick look at the gear that I use. So for this build with the Mason Shield, I take Sigil of Energy, which is gain 50% of your endurance when you swap to this weapon while in combat, which means you can dodge more often, again keeping you alive longer. And I take Sigil of Force, plus 5% damage. You could swap this sigil out for something else, because even with this sigil you do little to no damage. But obviously the point of this build isn't to do damage. I just took it because I'm so used to playing damage classes that it seems to be one of the sort of sigils that I would normally take, but you probably can find something better. And the same sigils again for the staff. I then take Rune of the Soldier, which means increased vitality, increased toughness, and that's where we get the shout to remove a condition from each affected ally. And then I take the Cleric's Amulet for a little bit of extra power, because again I like to try and see some damage numbers, but you don't do a lot with this build. But it's primarily for the toughness and the massive boost to healing power, which is obviously through the shouts and everything that keeps you going a lot longer. So we'll quickly go through the specializations, and in this we take Valor, Honor and Virtues. So the first of mine in Valor is Valorous Defense. Gain Aegis when you're struck while below 50% health, again block the next incoming attack. I then choose Strength of the Fallen. Lose conditions at a set time interval. Health degenerates more slowly while downed. So you lose a condition every 10 seconds, which again, another Condi cleanse in this build. You then have Courageous Return. Virtue of Courage is recharged when you revive an ally or when you rally, which is helpful. And then I take Communal Defenses. Grant Aegis to ally when you block an attack, which is 5 seconds of Aegis, which again is block the next incoming attack. You then get Might of the Protector. Gain Might when you block attacks. We block a lot, as you can imagine, so we're gaining Might quite a lot. And Altruistic Healing. Applying a boon to allies heals you, and obviously as you saw with the shouts, I can apply boons to all my allies all the time, and I'm gaining a little bits of healing for that. Next is Honor. So, Vigorous Precision. Gain Vigor when you deliver a critical hit. You don't crit very often, it's only a minor trait. It's mainly, obviously, well, as you know, it's for the mages on this line. But gaining a little bit of Vigor every so often is a nice surprise. We then take Protective Reviver. Activate Shield of Absorption when you begin reviving an ally. Upon successful revival, you and ally each. That's a bit of a mistake there. It should be you and each ally gain Aegis, Protection and Regeneration. So that's 10 seconds of Aegis, 10 seconds of Protection, and 10 seconds of Regen. It's amazing. And the Shield of Absorption obviously is a knockback and a heal, and a nice big shield. You then have Selfless Daring. At the end of your dodge rolls, heals nearby allies. So again, another little heal to keep you alive even longer. We then choose Pure of Heart. Aegis heals when it blocks an attack. We grant Aegis a lot, as you're already starting to see with this build, so again, lots more constant healing coming through to keep us alive even longer. Purity of Body. Your Virtue of Resolve passive effect also regenerates endurance, which is why obviously when I showed you we had the endurance regen. Pure of Voice. Allies affected by shouts have conditions converted to boons. Shout abilities have their reducers recharged. So again, we start converting more conditions into boons, which doesn't show on the tooltip, but it does show that we actually clear 2. And then in Virtues, we have Inspired Virtue. Virtues now also apply the following boons to allies when activated, which again I showed you when I went through the Virtues before, the boons that you would get. We then take Retaliatory Subconscious. Gain Retaliation and Aegis when stunned, dazed, knocked back, pulled, knocked down, sunk, floated, launched, taunted, or inflicted with fear. Again, it's just another way to keep us protected while we're under the effect of a hard CC. We then have Virtue of Retribution. Gain Retaliation when you activate a virtue. Retaliation apply lasts longer. Which again, when I showed you going through the virtues, well, Retaliation, this is where it came from. Absolute Resolution. Activating Virtue of Resolve removes conditions from nearby allies. Virtue of Resolve's passive effect is longer, which means more healing. we then start removing more conditions, which again you'd have seen through the virtue. Power of the Virtuous. Deal extra damage for each boon you have. Virtues recharge faster. You saw that the amount of Condi Cleanse that we have, a lot of our Condi Cleanse converts conditions into boons rather than just completely stripping the conditions away. So we're going to have our cooldown durations reduced quite a lot, and our damage is going to increase quite a bit. But again, this build's not about damage, it's about locking down a node. And we then have Indomitable Courage. Activating Virtue of Courage breaks stun and grants stability to affected allies. Virtue of Courage's passive effect triggers more frequently. Which again, when I showed you the virtues, you'd have seen that happening. Again, this is where it comes from. This virtues line, I personally think, should be taken in almost any build of the Guardian, just because virtues are already so powerful as it is, and these just make them amazing. But anyway, I won't keep you around too much longer because I'm sure this video is starting to drain on a little bit. But thank you again guys so much for watching this video. Thank you for all the support that I'm receiving on these videos. It's been great, and I do love making these videos, and it really does make me happy to see that people are watching and enjoying them. If you did like this video, please hit the like button. Please do speak up in the comments box, and if you want to see more content from me, which won't just be Guild Wars, there will be some other stuff coming up in the near future, hit that subscribe button. Thanks a lot guys, I'll see you next time.